Hi, I'm Tyler Swick from Swick's Classroom, and I just want to say hello and Happy New Year. We're approaching the end of 2022. I want to review the whole year. It's been a crazy one for sure. January of this year, I posted 3 videos, maybe 4 videos. That was how to make letters and numbers out of boom whackers. And when I tried to advertise them on Facebook, I advertised them as a brain break away from playing boom whackers. And the comment that stuck out to me the most after that was posted was, why would your students need a break from boom whackers? I only see them 30 minutes a week. I only see them an hour a week. Why would they need a break from boom whackers? And it was the perfect comment for me to read. It inspired me to answer that question. It inspired me to make as many videos as possible and show all the different ways you can play boom whackers, all the different contexts, whether it was pop music or Disney or movie soundtracks, originals or rhythms or things that we've never even seen before. And so I'd like to review the whole year of 2022. The main theme, of course, being these boom whacker videos, but many other things happened. The first chapter of 2022, January and February, was spent posting these basically movie boom whacker play-alongs in Kanto, Sing 2, and they quickly exploded into everyone's lesson plans, which I'm incredibly grateful for. We had a wild ride where the viewership was awesome and people were really engaged in these lessons. And Disney did a funny thing where they allowed it. They said, great. Of course, they kept the ad revenue. That makes perfect sense to me. They own the material. And then one night, I should say, in the middle of the year, they decided that Bruno was too popular to continue on. So they had it taken down. Again, no punishment against me. They just had YouTube remove the video. And the next morning, I woke up to many concerned Instagram comments, posts. People were on Teacher Pay Teacher, throwing comments in, and basically saying kind of what it was worth to them. People were saying, hey, I'm getting observed in an hour and I need this video. Or, hey, my concert's in 2 weeks and I need this video. And it was kind of the first moment for me to realize the value of these videos to some people. And it really was special, though it was a very panicky moment. I really did not enjoy the process of trying to get this solved. It really let me know what these videos were worth to some people. And I loved that because it was like, these were kind of wild ideas that I don't think had been used before in this context. So it was a wonderful experience to know what it was worth to everyone else. But I just retorted back to Disney and said, this is an educational material. People depend on this to teach their classes. Nobody's purposely going out of their way to listen to the boom whacker version. We're not trying to steal revenue or steal streams. And so anyway, they brought it back without complaint. So I'm really grateful for that. But the Disney era and kind of the movie soundtrack era was a big stretch of what I did to basically gain an audience. And all the ad revenue for that experience went to the copyright holders, which is super fair, it's supposed to. But I definitely was making videos that did not make money. The next era of February to March was when I started including original content. I want to throw in what other ideas, what else can we do with this falling notation? I threw in this ideas of rhythm play-alongs and stomp, pat, clap videos. What if we do body percussion? I know a lot of us have boom whackers, but not all of us have boom whackers, right? Some of us have 1 octave, some of us 2 octave. And I was always kind of playing with, I don't want to alienate an audience too much that they can't participate. The videos I did with 2 octaves have significantly lower views. It makes me think, if you don't have 2 octaves, why would you participate? So let's go the opposite direction. What's something we all have, the ability to do body percussion, most likely. So I thought that was a good direction to go. And this kind of creative, original content idea really came to an explosion when I got to work with Franklin Willis, who is a creator himself. He was an educator, and he's worked his way up the ladder all the way to, I don't know if I should give his whole biography. If you want to know more about him, search Franklin Willis. But he definitely is a influencer in the music world, in the music education world, absolutely. And so we connected over the internet, said, what if we created cool stuff for students to play along to? And he was already doing that, and he felt I was already doing that, though I didn't feel I was doing as cool as he was. But this whole philosophy of students want to do cool music, right? Have you ever heard the explanation like, this isn't real music? I mean, that always cuts through a teacher real bad when you're playing Frere Jacques on a recorder and they go, but it's not real music. And I know when they say real, they really mean like what's on the radio, but even by the radio, they mean what's on YouTube or TikTok. And so we both had this idea of like, there is such thing as popular music that we all like, but can we just make it so that it's educational or at least able to be played in the classroom? I think we all have a favorite song we wish we could bring into the classroom, and it's just not classroom appropriate, right? So we just had this idea of like our educational content that has a great beat, has a great message, but just is perceived as cool. And that's definitely what Franklin Willis brings to the table, which is incredible. So we worked together on a project called Stick Boom Volume 1, where we just, over the internet, I don't know if you know who the Postal Service is, the band. They got their title because they sent tracks back and forth through the Postal Service before they could email MP3s. Well, we very much did that, except we emailed MP3s back and forth to each other, where I would send him a beat, he'd send me back lyrics, and I'd send him back his lyrics over another beat, and then he'd send me back a riff, like a verse 2. And in about 3 weeks, we had songs that we were very proud of, all from speaking over the internet. We have yet to meet in person, which is super funny to us because we've spent hours in communication. We kind of want to do a test and make sure that teachers would use this material before we try to package it up and sell it all as one deal. And we heard back from real teachers saying, this is the first thing my students connected to. And I think that's something really important that I know I have to even work on, where just I make videos about what I know, and then there's students that just don't care about what I know, which is super fair. They care about what they know. And so I think it's really important that we make content for what all the students know. I think that's super important. So Franklin certainly helped me out when we partnered up on this one. We made content that both of us loved, and we found that students that I had not been able to reach before were just absolutely in love with just having a cool beat behind their boomwhacker stuff and a positive message on top of that. So everyone was pretty happy with the product of Stick With It and Stick Boom Volume 1. The next big chapter I think worth speaking about is April. April Fools is one of my favorite times of the year because you get to mess with students, and it's like allowed. It's illegal to just completely be wrong and mess with them. And so I made a bunch of videos that were mislabeled, and it was incredibly entertaining to kind of do like a market research on what people really want to see. I made a Metallica thumbnail that said Metallica on Boomwhackers, and the comments were just like, yes, this is what I wanted. Where is it? I went, cool, I need to make a Metallica video. So I did. But definitely the funniest to me was this Pixar mashup, and I found this amazing image of a bunch of characters all together. Hilariously, it took my students seconds to point out that not everybody in this thumbnail is a Pixar character, which I thought was amazing. But that video has a ridiculous amount of views for being a joke, and that makes me feel a little bit bad that maybe people planned their lesson around this awesome Pixar mashup and didn't click on it before they got into class. But yeah, it definitely was never going to give you up. You got Rick rolled. I had to explain Rick rolling very much in the comments, but it was a great time, and all those views. After the April Fool's videos went so well, my next plan of attack was solfege videos. I had some students go on to middle school choir, which is awesome. I think every elementary teacher wants to hear that. And I asked them when I could run it, when I ran into them again later, I said, as sixth graders, what's something you wish you knew more of in fifth grade to prepare you for this specific program? It's a great program. And I was like, I'm self-conscious. What if I'm not giving them what they need? What if they need to know something I'm not working on? And they came back and said, we just wish we knew more solfege going into sixth grade. And I said, great, thank you for telling me that. And I revamped and just kind of went heavy in that direction. And so I made some videos that push solfege, where I have a choir in the morning, and there's always just so much going on. Students need their shoelaces tied, they need their jackets unzipped or zipped or whatever, and you got all the friends coming at the same time, and some are ready and some are not. And it was just really cool to be like, okay, I'm gonna press play on the solfege video, and those who are ready are gonna sing along, and then I can kind of be like a secondary teacher to the video and go around and put out all these little fires, right? I kind of got away from it just so I felt content at the time, and now reflecting, I think I need a bunch more of those just to use more of that, more solfege, more automation in the classroom. I think that's a big part of why I like these videos so much, is because I can become a second person, where if I were the teacher, I'm trying to teach and I'm trying to put out fires. It's bad for everybody. And when I say put out fires, I mean, elementary people would understand this, but it's like a student comes in, shoes untied. Student comes in, the teacher just yelled at them because they didn't do their homework, and they're not emotionally ready to be in your classroom. A student comes in, and they have a story for you. Oh, last week I saw a tambourine at the store, and I got to tell you all about it right now. And it's hard to teach those that are ready and do those operations at the same time. So having a video and the students walk in that's productive, right? It's not like we're watching a movie. It's okay. It's dropping solfege down and you got to sing along. And while you're singing along to that, I'm handling all the friends that are not ready for the classroom. So that's why I like a majority of these videos, because they're great for that. Those who are ready are focused, they're entertained, they're engaged. And those who are not ready, I'm able then to help out. The next video on my channel that I'm really proud of, that I think was underseen, I don't know, was going to St. Louis, Michigan to participate in the incredible activities that go on out there. I guess I do elementary music, I do these videos, but steel pan is actually my first love and passion. And so getting to travel and make a video and be a part of the education process with steel pan is really a passion of mine first and foremost. And so getting to go out there and just participate, educate, learn from the other educators, see how they're teaching. And I mean, these other groups I'm visiting are teaching some of the highest levels I've seen at their age group. And so I'm just taking that back with me. I absolutely love seeing what they do. So I made this video about going to Michigan and just kind of experiencing how what I would consider some of the greatest programs in the country are operating. And I wish everyone could have this experience. But yeah, around that time was also the time to create the Grammy content. So if you've seen that video, I was nominated for Grammy Music Educator of the Year, which is wonderful, along with thousands of others. And part of getting to the next round, after the first round, you write a little paragraph. By little paragraph, I mean like really little. And then the next round, you have to make video content. And I love making videos. So that was not scary at all. It's my absolute passion to make videos. I was so proud of it, I made it public, which is, not necessary, but I chose to. And I thought my video was really strong. I loved it. And then part of the next step is that you make a video of you teaching. And just due to students' privacy, I didn't post that video for public use, but it worked out great. I'm really proud of that video. The third part of this Grammy submission is to make a video of teaching something that's not in the classroom. Don't teach an instrument, don't teach a lesson, but teach something to teachers that they could use in the classroom. And I interpreted that, follow me on this, I've been making these boom whacker videos for a bit now, at this point, about 5-6 months. What if I made a video explaining how to make these so where you can make them on your own? And I thought that would be it, because I saw some other videos and they were very positive message. Don't give up. Keep on trying. Think about this, classroom management techniques. And though I think it's incredibly valuable, we get that from a lot of angles, right? We get that from our academia peers. We get that from our professional developments. And I thought, here's something that nobody else is talking about. And even when I learned this technique, it was from a small YouTube creator who was explaining how to make piano play along tutorials. And that's how I really figured this out on my end, was just somebody who had the courage to kind of just explain, here's how you do it. Because there's money to be made if you're making original content with this practice. And I think that's why they don't want the message to get out too much. And so I thought, as my third submission for the Grammy competition, I'll submit my video of here's how you make this falling notation content. And I felt like the numbers would show it, right? My first video had about 7,000 views. I thought, wow, that's pretty good. I looked at the other competitors. I thought, wow, this is pretty good, right? And then the third video was received well. People said thanks. People had nice things to say. I think the funniest thing I heard back was, oh, this is so difficult. You do it yourself. You keep doing it. I'll just appreciate them. I thought that was a wonderful sentiment of like, thank you for showing me. I know I don't want to do this now, and you keep doing it. I'm like, oh man, thank you. I appreciate that. But I don't think the Grammys saw it that way. I don't think there's enough context for them to understand, in my opinion, the value of what was being shared. All right, view sync. I think this is wildly underutilized, and maybe I'm part of the future on this one. I was talking to an educational genius named Stephen Lawhorn. He teaches in Michigan. He's incredible. He's one of the people I visited on my trip to St. Louis, Michigan. I think he is an absolute genius. And we were talking over the phone, which is when all great things happen. And he kind of mentioned this idea of, could you have like a whole school perform at the same time? And I was like, yeah, I mean, because in theory, like this boom whacker thing, if you have enough boom whackers, everyone can perform, but we need a diversity of instruments. And it's like, okay, so I've done videos with boom whackers, maybe 2 or 3 percussion instruments, but like, where does this end? If you had unlimited resources, could you have like a full ensemble playing with falling notation? And anyway, it landed on, well, why don't you see if anyone plays 2 YouTubes at the same time? And so I searched it up, and it was the easiest search ever. I searched, like, watched 2 videos at the same time. ViewSync.net lets you play 2 YouTube videos at the exact same time. So I went and made a video that uses the xylophones, and I made a video that uses boom whackers. And using ViewSync, you can play both at the same time. In theory, students could read the xylophone part off the screen and the boom whacker part off the screen, and that by itself would be a pretty cool deal. Now, where's the limit? You can play up to 4 videos at a time. Whoa, okay, great. So if you made a video that was a drum ensemble playing 3 parts, a whole maybe bass and tenor section in 2 parts, and then a chordal accompaniment and melody video, you can have a full ensemble playing. And so I explored it a little bit. It did not take off right away, so I think that's why I stopped making content for it. But the spring, I think, is going to be the answer for that. As the spring comes around, I think I'm going to be searching into how do I make more content for larger ensembles. Bucket drumming. Okay, so I love bucket drumming. When we at our school, we have a lot of students. We're over 1,000 students at our school. Class sizes are pretty large. And for a while, we were teaching 2 classes at a time before we went to a 7-day rotation. But yeah, it was pretty normal for the first 2 or 3 months of school to teach between 50 and 60 students at a time. And you don't have that many xylophones. I hope you don't. I hope you don't have that many xylophones. You don't have that many guitars. You don't have that many ukuleles. But I do have that many buckets. I'm very fortunate where between donation and purchase and begging and borrowing, I have enough buckets for that. And so when we had these large classes, and I was trying to think, how do I just manage that everyone learns, and we all know behaviors are tied to boredom. If you're bored waiting for your turn, you're going to do something funny. And if you think it's funny, the teacher probably won't. That kind of thing happens. So anyway, I knew buckets was the answer. Where We Begin was a fantastic project that came out of Australia. It was based on being an awareness to mental health. It was such a fun project to work on because it's a wonderful idea of everyone just perform the song on your own turf, teach your children, here's the music for free, here's a boom whacker video for free, and just have a conversation. And then report back. You could log that you performed it, you can send in photos, you can send in descriptions, and it was just a lovely project that there was just nothing wrong with any bit of it. It was all wonderful on every end. So thank you so much to everyone that was a part of Where We Begin. That was fantastic. Now we're getting into the next school year, which I think is pretty exciting. August and September don't really have any major themes to them, at least in my experience. I really go ham for October and Halloween. I am one of those teachers where the first day of October, I have the room decked out, and we're doing Halloween songs for the next 4 to 5 weeks. And so anyway, it was my first dabble into going back into my library previous to all the boom whacker stuff, and saying, like, I used to, my content, would you believe it or not, used to be based off making funny songs. I used to try and make people laugh with funny songs and, kind of creative lessons. And so I went, what if I brought those back and put boom whacker videos over them? And that was kind of the reinvention of, I felt like me again, right? This whole time I've kind of felt like I'm just interpreting audio for people to use, or I've been interpreting other people's work. And for the first time, I felt like, hey, this is a Swick original on boom whackers, a Swick original idea, and it's like, cool. I feel like I'm actually doing what I want to be doing again, which really helped me stick in the game. I know burnout's a real thing. I've seen some creators come and go because they experience like, hey, this is popular, people like it, and then like a little bit later they go, I'm so tired of spending my nights editing footage, which is a real thing. Burnout's so real. So getting to do songs like My Haunted Backpack, My Pet Chihuahua, Spooky Shaker, having those come back was really a joy, and I was really excited about getting those back into my rotation, and then seeing the viewership be way higher than the first time those videos came out. It really kind of boosted, like, whoa, okay, I don't want to get too far away from creating original content, which really inspired to, like, the next 3 months, maybe to the rest of the school year or the rest of the calendar year, I spent really focusing on, can I get my original content back in the rotation? And so I really appreciate October was just fantastic. I had such a great time with all of these lessons. Thank you for watching them. Okay, I'm gonna admit this now. I think we're pretty deep into the video that I can admit this, and maybe most of my students won't see this, but Little Monsters is an original song, of course. I wrote that, and I thought it was just so funny of maybe teachers are experiencing this is one of the hardest times to teach in education. I think we all hated distance ed, of course, and then coming back was difficult, but yet it was kind of still adventurous of like, we were gone, now we're here, things are wild. And then maybe this was like the first year where it's like completely no restrictions. Now, of course, based on geography, everyone had different experiences. But on the West Coast, this was the first year, I think, with 0 restrictions coming into the school year. And it kind of took away all of like the asterisks, right? Like, oh, it was a hard year, but the asterisk was, oh, we were at home for a while. Or it was a hard year, but the asterisk was, we had a couple days off. Or the asterisk was, we wore a mask and it was a bummer. But it also kind of lowered expectations. So we're back now with full expectations. And I think people are having a hard time with getting back to what things used to be, right? We loved what we did before, I'll say. And then some people adapted, some people didn't during the pandemic. And then when we get back, it's like, okay, now you must return to normal. And that was a crazy thought. That was a wild thought, I think, for many people. This era right now where students are not used to being in the classroom for the full length of time. Students are not used to being away from home for this full length of time. Students aren't even used to being away from a bathroom for this full length of time. And so it's been a hard year for behaviors mostly. And I thought it'd be so funny to try and call the students little monsters. In the funniest of ways, though. And so when we were writing this song together, I thought it'd be so funny to be like, you are little monsters, and take that direction. And so it eventually turned into we are little monsters. But I was trying to write from their perspective. And the students loved it. They ran with it. And I just had this giggle every time, every class that came in. They're screaming, we are little monsters. I'm going, yes, you are. Yes, you are. I'm just kidding. I am not kidding. It was a great time, though. And the song was, I think, a success. It was one of my favorite original songs in a long time. So it was really cool to see students take to it. But also just kind of the wink and nod of like, we are little monsters, all of us. November was not a whole lot of action. I was receiving comments about where's your holiday stuff, your Christmas stuff, your Hanukkah stuff. Basically back at the beginning of November. And I had this idea, or basically the end of October. I take it back. Because I was posting Halloween content. They go, where's your Christmas content? I go, who's doing Christmas in October? Now, what I realized later is that some of you do like lesson plan way ahead, which is probably a great skill. I don't possess that. I really enjoy figuring out what I'm doing like the week of. I'm definitely a Sunday scary type person. But anyway, so I knew I had to start getting the holiday stuff together. And so before I even posted Thanksgiving stuff, I posted Christmas stuff. And so this was a total, I'm going to laugh now. But I was talking to my wife going, nobody's at school today, so why would I post a video? And she kind of looks at me and she goes, only in this country. I go, what? She's like, yeah, the rest of the world has school today, just not us. I was like, oh yeah. That was a moment. That was a real moment in kind of worldliness of like, I'm so focused on what my district's doing or even what the United States is doing that I realized that like 40% of my channel does not care what the United States is doing, or at least they don't care what the holidays are. So I posted Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer on Halloween. And I thought, this is such a silly thing to do. Like, why would I do this? Nobody's showing this video on Halloween. And sure enough, 47,000 views later, it was the perfect idea. In fact, I should have posted it sooner. But yeah, I posted Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer before everything else. I posted the one Thanksgiving song and then jumped back into December songs, which I think is pretty fun. I posted them throughout November, and they did very well. But there's some major gaps in my posting, and this was around the time of the year. I got my first bronchitis case in October, and I've basically had a cough from October to today, where I'm editing out my coughs in between this video. And I know in the United States, at least, there's this wild situation going on where RSV and bronchitis and flu with all the letters is going around, as well as COVID. And so I was very on and off sick for like the last 2 or 3 months, and just not a good time for anybody. But I had these huge gaps in posting videos where I would get home from school and go, I just don't have the energy to sit at the computer for an hour or two to make one more video. And I always wish I could do more. But yeah, there are some big gaps in this time because I just was not feeling well. But on the nights that I was feeling great, I got these videos out, which is super exciting, mostly through November. By the actual start of December, there was a good catalog of videos up already, which is wonderful. And then this is maybe the interesting end to my year, is I received my first 2 major threats of a copyright strike over songs. Now, something I didn't think to even think about, who owns the copyrights to holiday music? A lot of this music we consider to be public domain, and maybe about half of it is. So I had to start looking up with seriousness about which songs are in the public domain and which ones are not. After a full year of having cooperation with these copyright holders, where they let me host the video, though they collect the money, it's a nice relationship because I receive the attention, the traffic, the views. They receive the money. Everyone's pretty happy. And so this is the first situation where Silent Night, of all songs, which I had multiple websites tell me was in the public domain, apparently is owned by Sony. And I received my first threat of channel trouble, where if I didn't remove the video, if they deemed the song stolen, that I would receive my first strike. And you're allowed to get 3, but after 3 they delete your channel, which is a game I don't want to play. So I got pretty nervous about that. And then my second strike threat came in over Wham's Last Christmas. I forget the copyright holder, but they sent a letter that said, you stole our song, we're going to send it to legal, and if they agree you stole our song, we're going to give your channel a copyright strike. And anyway, both those threats came in within the same week, and I thought, wow, I've had 2 threats of a strike within this short amount of time, and I don't really want to strike, right? We don't want to play this game. As much as I enjoyed all the positives that came from using this material, I'm ready to not threaten the loss of my channel, right? I think everyone maybe feels the same way. So once Christmas, or once, at least in the United States, winter break is upon us. So I might be deleting those 2 videos to get out of this legal trouble. But it might also answer to you why I've ignored a lot of the requests. I had some fantastic requests across all the platforms: Teacher Pay Teacher, YouTube, Instagram, Buy Me a Coffee, Facebook. All these wonderful comments come in of, hey, do this song, do that song, do this song, do that song, do this song, do that song. And many of them, if not all of them, are copyrighted music. For instance, in which we might laugh, I got away with doing One More Sleep Till Christmas from the Muppets movie. And that was fine. Show the whole video in the background. They said, yeah, you're not going to make any money from this, but you can show it. Great. Awesome. Not a problem. But then other companies really are not about that life. So it's just a scary game. So once I get out of this trouble where those 2 strikes, impending strikes, go away, I'll be playing a little bit more loose with the copyright rules. But if both those strikes come through, then I'll really be on thin ice. So if you feel like I ignored your request, that is exactly why. Because I feel like if I have one more misstep, then that might be the end of my channel. So anyway, once we get rid of these 2 videos and end those, I'll be listening again about videos that can be whatever. So I just want to say thank you so much for watching the channel this year. I've had some great interactions. I've met incredible people. And I look forward to what next year's going to hold, because I think we're on the up and up. I hope you have a great end of your year. Happy holidays. Happy New Year. And let's do it again in the spring. What do you say?